Hey, this is Tom Bradford, and welcome to A Lesson in Leadership. I'm not sure what number this is. I've lost count. Not that there are that many of them, but there's just been kind of a big break between the holidays, and I'm too lazy to look back at the previous numbering. So I'll just add it later when I publish this thing. Today I want to talk about knowing who your customer is, and what I mean by that is not knowing what your customer wants. It's a little bit deeper than that. It is actually knowing who your customer is. Because a lot of times when we build products, we make a lot of assumptions about who the customer is. And then we build a lot of capabilities around that assumption. And we realize that we've kind of, we've excluded ourselves from being able to create value from people who would otherwise naturally gravitate toward that product because it better fits the job that they're hiring us to do. And I've got two anecdotes. One is a complete and utter failure from earlier in my career, and one is a success from a couple years ago that I'm pretty proud of. Of course, I will start with the failure because those are the things that we tend to learn from, and it definitely informed later successes. So let's do that. In about 1999, I started a company building a native XML database. You don't need to know what that is, but let's just say that at that time, relational databases dominated the world. And also at that time was sort of the rise of e-commerce on the internet, and relational databases were not a great fit for e-commerce catalogs because of the nature of the data that you were storing. It wasn't just a simple matter of normalization. The data was actually very semi-structured, and at that time, JSON didn't exist. At that time, XML seemed like a really good fit for being able to model and describe that kind of data. But it was really, really slow to sort of parse and marshal XML in and out of an Oracle CLOB field, for example. And I thought that we could do better than that, and so we wrote something and got funding, hired a leadership team. I hired a CTO because I was 27 years old, I think, at the time, and I thought that I was too inexperienced to be able to actually run the company from a technical point of view, and so I made sure that somebody else could do a much better job of it. We also hired a CEO. Problem there was that at the end of the day, he didn't understand what we were trying to do. And we started off obviously with the assumption that this was going to be a best fit for e-commerce, right? Because that was the itch that I was trying to scratch. And so we just went heavily in that direction, building out capabilities that were very specific to that problem space. And in the meantime, completely ignoring the fact that our real customers were yelling at us. We had an open source project, so the community was there and visible. We could actually read emails and know where people were coming from. And so we had kind of a direct line to our customers. And if we had actually listened to them, we would know that our customers were content management people who needed to be able to generate a lot of content, a lot of like landing pages and so on, from templates and such. We didn't care. Instead, we were building all the wrong things, and that failure, that's on me because again, I was inexperienced, but I could have become more experienced, right? I could have better understood the role of the CEO as sort of the proxy for a chief product officer at that time, and really done the work of understanding who our customers were, and sort of trying to then steer the product toward being able to better meet the needs of those customers. My fault. And then 2002, 2003 hit, and the internet bubble burst, and we were done. At that point, we had been riding on a single reference customer, which is another horrible thing to do, but that's another lesson altogether. And so that company was over. So fast forward to 2019, I think. And I was working at a company. We were basically a black car service. And that service had initially been rolled out with the intended customer being consultants. Your standard Deloitte, McKinsey, BCG consultant, mainly because the founders came from that world, and they saw a real problem for themselves, specifically the fragmentation of the limousine space, and being able to find a ride at these various cities that you were going to do consulting gigs and so on. It wasn't a bad assumption at all, and for sure it's lucrative. But one of the things that we noticed later on when we were looking at our customer segmentation is that there were these huge black holes of people using our service that we just didn't fundamentally understand. Like, who are they, right? It was obvious if you saw BCG domains and so on within the customer base on the orders that we had. But then there was just this big slew of customers who were coming in from Gmail accounts and web.de accounts and stuff like that, that if we had dug a little bit deeper, we would have understood exactly what they were doing, because quite often what you would see is that they were booking dozens or hundreds of rides a year for other people, and you could initially assume if it was for the same person over and over and over again, they might be an executive assistant or something like that. But these were different people from a lot of different places. And so as we dug in more, what we were seeing is that there was this completely organic customer segment that was composed of travel agents. Now, we could just continue to say, well, these are the travel agents who use our customers. But more important would be to say, okay, well, why are they here? Because we didn't really put any effort, actually none whatsoever, in marketing to travel agents. So why have they come to us? What are they hiring us to do for them? And ultimately, the answer is that their job is to put together an itinerary for customers, right? And that itinerary is getting their customer from their home to the hotel, possibly doing some events while they're on vacation or whatever it happens to be, and doing so that their customers have peace of mind, so that they know that those arrangements are just handled. The great thing about that is that travel agents were highly aligned with what our goals were as a provider of black cars. We exactly wanted to create peace of mind for our customers, and travel agents were doing it for us for free. They were basically our customer care people, right? They were our sales team, and they didn't ask for a dime from us to do it, right? And this is something where, if we had noticed it earlier, we could have built out an entire segment specifically designed for catering to the needs of travel agents. And there were signals there, of course, right? We had partnerships with travel portals. But I think we were so heavily biased toward our initial assumptions of who our customers were that we just ignored it for probably far too long. And so the goal then was, how does this feed into our strategies? We decided that we would build out an agency branch for sales. We would also build out tools specifically to help and assist travel agents to do their jobs, to take away yet even more friction for what they're actually doing, and then to learn from them, learn what they're doing, learn how we can better actually serve them, so that their lives get even better, and of course it becomes kind of profitable for everybody to engage in this sort of symbiotic relationship. It's worked well, from what I understand. I think this year they've decided to double down on the size of this group serving agencies, and I'm pretty proud of the fact that I helped the company arrive at that point. And it was in an answer to the question not of what do our customers want, because if you ask that question, you're only going to give customers that about what they want. You're not going to give the sort of these natural organic relationships what they need to even broaden more and become kind of a bigger customer segment that sees even more value in what you're providing to them. So please, product manager, software developer, it doesn't matter. ask those questions first. Who is our customer? And keep asking it over and over again, because over time that will change. The markets will change. What people want changes. Your product will evolve in a way where all of a sudden there's a natural fit for a customer that you just didn't anticipate. So continuously ask those questions. Look into your data. Understand what people are using and their usage patterns of your software. And you can be successful. It doesn't have to be that, well, we tried and we failed, like 9 out of 10 startups. You can pivot, and it doesn't have to be a hard pivot, right? It can be a slow evolving pivot over time, where you're serving the needs of multiple kinds of customers, but over time you may eventually completely migrate toward a different set of customers because that seemed like the more natural fit, less friction, easier to land those customers because they practically throw themselves at you. Think in those terms. There you have it. And I'll see you next time. I'm sure I have more topics to talk about.